What's up, everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video. So today I wanted to make a video discussing some of the ways you can play Diva Hero, because I think that this deck, myself included, I believe that this deck was literally just OTK, explosive, play out your hand and pretty much win or lose is how I always thought the deck worked. But I picked it up for the first time before Deck Devastators 4. Or that day pretty much, and was able to go 7-1 with the deck, not knowing what I was doing, but I was kind of figuring out as I go. And I kind of reverted back to my typical play style, which is kind of slow and control and just kind of be very methodical and try not to waste too many resources into potentially trying to OTK somebody and then them being able to maybe have the gores or the one out and then reverse OTK me. Essentially, it's kind of how I've always played zombies. Kind of just use a little bit of resources, make your opponent waste cards on them and kind of outgrind them, and then when your opponent's low on resources, then you OTK. So I decided to play Diva Hero, and it's just the way I play. This build is better for the way from my play style, just kind of the slow control type build. It plays traps, which a true heroes builds typically don't play many of them. They play more of the, it's more aggressive. The way he plays, he definitely has the OTK style and kind of goes all gas. And the deck plays well that way, but it can be very brittle. And I noticed that and learned that quickly during my tournament run. So reason why I really like this deck, and again, I did not make this deck. Oscar did, South Cal player playing in PS5 tournament. I actually played him round 1. He beat me game 3. We had a good time, had a good conversation. He's won 2 PS5s with this deck. So this deck is very, very good. And then again, I topped with the same exact build. I didn't change a thing. Pieces of me wanted me to cut down on a card to make it 40 because I don't like the way 41 looks, and maybe add a return because that card is just so broken. But I resisted and just played the build the way it was, and I'm glad I did because this deck was perfect for the meta at the time. Hero Beat was everywhere, Blackwing, and this card right here was MVP of the weekend. This card here, True Hero does not typically play. I don't know if he's adding it back into his build, but because it's slow. This doesn't generate you any gas, essentially. It doesn't really promote you into having this explosive board when you have a set Snowman Eater. Sure, it's a water for Miracle Fusion, but this card here is definitely slow, right? You set it down, wait for it to be attacked, you pick a monster on the board. You're not trying to OTK when you have a Snowman Eater. That's one card I really liked this weekend. Card Trooper I loved. I love the fact that you can crash into Alias with it, draw a card. I like the fact that you can just mill and get yourself the Evil Hero or the Snowman Eater that you may need to get those Miracle Fusions live. Armageddonite was decent. I like it better than Greffer because this card here, summon, and you essentially can get a plus off of Malicious for, later down the road, or use the Plague play. Where Greffer, you are discarding a lot of cards, and that's just not the way I like to play. But Greffer can be more explosive because of that fact. You can actually put 2 darks in the graveyard, so you can, ditch a Mally from your hand and send a Plague. I will show you a True Heroes build. This is one of the ones he's topped with. He's topped so many events, so I'm not sure which one is which, but I kind of just found one online. Sorry. This here could be an old build, could be a newer build, I'm not sure, but again, you see the difference, and this deck here is really trying to go for OTK, is trying to make those explosive pushes. Gold Sark is literally going to find you the combo piece that you need. Might search you Dark Arm, might search you Heavy, or could just get you the Future Fusion. Obviously, no defensive traps aside. Everybody's playing Mirror Force, but just one bottomless, no D prisons. Elected to go with the whole Mind Crush, Trap Dust Shoot. Obviously he plays Return. Card is really, really good. You could put that in the build that I use, of course, as well. I don't think that the deck is terrible without it. You do miss some of the explosiveness because this card can just win you games. But again, Trap Dust Shoot, Mind Crush, Deck Devastation, Viruses, all cards that really secure a victory. When you do explode, you just Trap Dust Shoot and then pick away any resource that could get them back in the game. But again, you see the difference in the build here. No Snowman Eaters. Does play one Mystic Tomato. Again, I don't know if this is old technology or not. Playing the one Greffer and one enemy controller, which can also be used very offensively when you maybe special summon I don't know, an Evil Hero, or make a synchro play with a special summon a Diva from the deck, and then enemy controller take control of opponent's monster. So it does also add some fuel to the explosiveness. So that's really the difference between the two decks. this fits my playstyle better. I do think that this deck, again, is often thought of being just an explosive one-turn OTK, which it does very well, and I'll show you some replay of that. But it also can play the long grind game, and if you have that type of playstyle and you have the patience to do it, the deck can do that. It plays well going second. Has Caius, has a free, Inferno Prodigy here. You can sack for Caius. It has Snowman Eaters, which you can sit behind and just really wait to draw cards. It can play any of these traps, obviously, so it can play very slow too, and I like that. I really do like this deck. It plays a lot like zombies. I didn't think I'd like it as much because I played zombies for the past year, and again, I continue to play zombies essentially. But this is nice to have another alternative that plays similar and kind of fits my play style. So if you haven't tried this deck is very, very good right now. I think it's S tier. I do agree with Fraser Smith, who has moved this into S tier. I was saying probably high A tier, but because of Absolute Zero right now, the card is just so good. And that's why this deck can play the control game that I'm talking about here, because you have to use resources to deal with Absolute Zero. You have to. It's not ever a clean trade unless you're unless you're Miracle Fusion into like an open field, your opponent's open field, and they just bottomless it, which you shouldn't be doing. You should really try to hold off on doing that, which I learned later in the tournament. And really, I was holding my Miracle Fusions. I would throw out a Synchro play, let them have to deal with that. My opponent make some decisions, and then if they were able to out my Mally Plague play, then I would have a Miracle Fusion that they have to deal with now, and eventually they wouldn't have enough resources where one of these Absolute Zeros would hit the board, and I'd be able to start winning with it. So I'll show you a replay from my round 1 opponent. Very good player, playing Blackwing. So mind you, this is the first time I pretty much played the deck, and I was lucky enough to draw the whole Future Fusion. So turn 1. So throughout the tournament, I opened Future Fusion 3 times, opening hand. 2 of them were in this one match, and then I opened it once in top 8 versus Ludo, and I actually lost because of it. But the replay is bugged and it's not working for whatever reason. So but we'll show you this one here. When you see this hand, when you see Future Fusion, Miracle Fusion, you just know that you have a lot of gas. On top of that, with the Trap Dust and Solemn, it's very, very hard to lose this game right now. The only thing that would be better if this was not in my hand and it was like if this was a Diva, this hand would be the best hand you could probably have with the deck. So because Diva play here, if I summon this and this is a Diva, I can make a Stardust and just set everything and really protect the board. So we don't get the perfect hand, but we have a pretty decent hand right now. We're able to dust shoot and look at their entire hand. We know exactly what's coming. We know they don't have any defense, although they could have drawn something here. I'm pretty sure they got that value off of the allure, so it's only one card they could have possibly gotten, but we're reading this as an MST, and then we draw Caius. So this is actually game if that's a dark, which we know it is because they play Blackwing. So that's a 24 and 17, and then that's game. Absolute Zero gets pumped up. So we have Solemn to back this up. We just, looking at that hand there, it may not be obvious to some, but that hand right there is one of those ones where you're just going to say, I'm not playing control. I'm going to try to OTK. A true hero would probably love that type of hand. I've seen him just OTK with less, to be honest. So when you have to be able to evaluate your hand and understand the outs that your opponent can have to them. So against Ludo, and I wish the replay would work, I had almost this exact same hand here, and I actually had the Stardust play with Future Fusion, and I had Wing Blast and a D Prison, and the only out that he can have to that field, because Icarus attack doesn't work, is Brain Control, which he draws a turn or 2 later and is able to out my whole board, which leaves me with next to nothing. So you have to understand that you're committing all of your cards to this type of, game style. Essentially, you're saying, I'm going to try to OTK here or win within the first couple turns of the game. And if they have Gores, then I lose. Or if they have this, then I lose. But so you can't be upset if they have that, right? Because you're literally playing into that specific card. So a lot of players say, oh, I got sacked. They had the Brain Control. Well, you didn't necessarily have to play like you were going to, you didn't have to try to OTK. You could have waited a couple turns. So I made the full commitment here that I was going to win the game, and I knew that was an MST, and it didn't matter because I had Solemn. So in this instance, there was little that they could do. Now, game 2 is different, and I actually opened up very strong. Very, very strong. Here's Future Fusion, Diva, and this goes to show you how brittle this deck can be at times. Now, did I play this 100% correct? Probably not. I'm sure a true hero can let me know what I did wrong. So at this point, obviously, the play is Future Fusion, and you just cross your fingers that they don't have an MST or a oppression. And if we send Mali, then we can make the Mali into Diva play, and you know, we are sitting pretty. So we Future Fusion. We don't get Royal Oppression here, which is good. So I actually decide to Malicious first. I'm not sure if it's fine or not to do that. I don't know if I go Deep Sea Diva first, what they do here. But the second this hits the field, they don't even wait for me to summon a Deep Sea Diva, which is, I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but it actually worked out in their favor. They literally compulse this back to my hand, and now my Miracle Fusion's dead. My Diva play is lackluster. Of course, I still have the Gilman, so I'm able to do something here, but this just would have been so much better if I could have made the Stardust here. So now I'm vulnerable to Heavy Storm. Granted, they don't have it. This is kind of already moving quickly. It's getting out of control here. They're able to out the Android, and we draw another Diva here. Which is fine if we had an actual play to do with it, but we don't. So this is their OTK, essentially. They had all the answers here. If we had the Stardust, we would be fine. But it just goes to show you, one Compulse literally destroyed this whole hand, and I was unable to play. So we're going to go to the next game here. That's pretty much it. Let's see what I draw. I don't even think I wait for the draw. Yeah, I do. I draw Solemn. So that's game. And I get hit with a deck Devi. So there's nothing to think about here. We're going to go to the next game. I'm not sure why I didn't just scoop. There we go. So game 3, let's see how this deck plays. So this here, I think, is a prime example of the deck being able to play the control game. Okay, this hand is not good, right? And this is, I've said this before. When you open Dark Arm and you have Allure, I think it's a perfect time to get rid of it. Some people try to hold it. As you can see, there's no docks to be found here. So the hand is getting worse, right? We're not getting any better here. We're kind of just drawing all of the... We drew all defense, and luckily we're playing the build that has some defensive traps in the build. Obviously, we have the bottomlesses. We got deep prisons. Because if we don't, we would lose this game. There's just no way we win this. We're drawing Solemn, so at this point we have Solemn. We might as well set everything. They're going to heavy, so that's worse, right? Things went from bad to worse really quick. We, of course, have the Solemn, but now we have to pay 4,000 life points just to stop a Heavy Storm. So things are not going our way at all. Luckily, we have some defense, and we're just going to keep playing the defensive game. We drew a Snowman, which is very, very good against Blackwing. So we're maybe able to come back. We're just going to try to hit MSTs, end phase, Icarus attacks. That's really what we're aiming for. And again, he is figuring out that this is a Snowman Eater because I don't flip it. So we get excited for a second because we draw Rhoda, and obviously Stratos is the best normal summon in the game. I do agree with Fraser Smith when he says that. And they have Pulling the Rug. So again, every single thing I've tried to do here has been answered. I was fortunate enough to have some defense, and now they're going to answer my Snowman Eater with a Vayu, so things are just getting better for them. But I do draw a Future Fusion here, so let's see if we're able to do anything with it. They have the Royal Oppression, so that gets stopped. So again, Brain Control, Mind Control were just kind of sitting in my hand forever since turn 1. And fortunately, because we play Snowman Eater in this build here, we're trying to play a little bit more control defense. It's really good against the whole hero build. It's good against Blackwings, as you can see. We're just sitting back here. Now, they could have gone Gale, but they can't special summon it because I can negate it. And again, playing very, very smart, playing around Mirror Force, which I have to do at this point because I have to hide behind again this Snowman Eater. I'm drawing Miracle Fusion, which would be live. If they didn't have a Royal Oppression, I would have to use my Snowman Eater. So again, I have not drawn anything yet. Now they're doing Whirlwind searches, so I am just waiting to lose here. I cannot let them get a search off, even though it's probably be nothing. But I know they're going to be able to out the Snowman at that point. They'd be able to get a Shura search. So I have to Torrential there. And now we're just hoping to draw a card. We're drawing a Plague, which again is not the best. But they're kind of starting to slow down now. Okay, they've drawn a lot of stuff, obviously. And I'm hoping that we start seeing some cards that we can play. And now they're starting to draw Whirlwinds and Royal Oppressions, and MSTs are obviously dead because we don't have anything. Armageddon Knight is probably the best card we could have drawn right here because at least we have a Mali play that we can make them burn some life points with. Gores was not siding out Gores or putting in Gores was a misplay. This card should not be in the deck with double Whirlwind Royal Oppression. It just goes to show you why that should not happen. I don't know why Blackwing players decide that they're going to do that, but that's a bad idea. And I think that it's just the fear that Diva hero can put in to your opponent of them like just constantly worrying about being OTK'd, that they feel more comfortable having Gores in the deck despite it being just dead right there. So now we draw a Wing Blast, which we can deal with the Royal Oppression. So Armageddon Knight has already given us value. We've gotten 2 attacks in with Armageddon Knight at this point. They draw a Pulling the Rug. Pulling the Rug is not the best side deck card against Diva hero. Like, it works, sure. It hits Stratos, it hits Diva, and it can hit Armageddon Knight if you play it. So they were lucky enough to hit the Stratos. Now they're wasting a Compulse on a Armageddon Knight, and now I summon it, and they're wasting a Pulling the Rug because they can't afford to sit there and keep getting hit with damage. So the card literally attacked twice, 8 a Pulling the Rug, and 8 a Compulse, all while sending a Mally to the graveyard. So my opponent probably didn't have to Compulse there. Could have probably waited another turn, just being a little bit more patient. But they drew another Compulse, which this card is really good against the Absolute Zero itself, but no Absolute Zero is coming down when you have Royal Oppression. So and now, again, these cards are not all that great. They're really not all that great, but you can use them to get off the Caius plays. You can set them. You can Miracle Fusion with them. So at this point, Miracle Fusion is live. We are going to try a Mally play here, and we don't care if they negate because we have the Phoenix Wing Blast. So perfect for us. We don't mind stacking that to the top of the deck. And we have Miracle Fusion. So Stardust is going to protect Absolute Zero. And they have to have specifically either 2 D-Prison or a Compulse D-Prison to answer this board. We attack with the Absolute Zero first, so the Stardust can protect it. Compulse, and we're going for game here. So our opponent drew far better than we did. We were able to stall behind a Snowman Eater, which a lot of these Diva Hero decks did not play initially. They're probably starting to play now. We played behind Real Traps. Okay, and we were able to win a game that I probably had no business winning. Granted, they had Gores in the game. So again, I'm not saying that this build is better than the typical quote-unquote Diva Hero build. It's just what I prefer. And if you have a similar play style to the way I play, which a lot of players don't, they don't have the patience to play that way, which is okay. I've made a living in Edison format, literally just grinding out +1, -1. So I love it. I love being able to play like that. I love having 8 more cards than my opponent. That's how I like to play. I like that better than OTKing people, because there are times throughout this tournament where I did attempt to OTK somebody and a Gores would hit the board, and then I'm like hoping to top deck a Miracle Fusion. Or against Ludo, where I did my whole big combo play initially and dropped the Stardust and Future Fusion, this, that, and the other, and then all it took was 1 brain control to break the board. Like, I don't like to play that way. But this deck does have those opening hands where like you just do it, and you know, 8 out of 10 times it works. But the problem is when you're playing a deck that is literally built to do that all the time, it's not really built for that grind game, then you find yourself doing these explosive plays, and you find yourself having your opponent having answers to them more frequently because you're doing them more frequently, right? So it's just not the way I like to play, and I was happy of the way the deck played throughout the day, the way the side deck worked. I would make a few changes to the side deck, but overall, I think it felt good, and I'm hoping that you guys can see a little bit of what the deck can do and maybe decide if it's a deck for you. I do like it. I think that I'll be playing this and Zombies. Who knows what I'll be playing next in the next tournament, but I want to shout out, obviously, Oscar, who made the deck again. Give him his credit, because I do like the way it was built. I do not build decks, really. I know everybody knows me for the zombie build, but that's really been a buddy of mine, JG, who kind of tweaks the deck and just hands me the deck every time and I play. I'm a far better player than I am deck builder, but and of course I want to shout out a true hero, because he's still a true hero when it comes to Diva Hero, right? So if you guys would comment, like, and subscribe, we're pushing 1,000 subs. It'll really keep me motivated. You know, we've created Edison War League. We have small BCS tournaments that we run. So we're really trying to do a lot for the Edison community. So with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.